Dzień dobry Państwu, witamy na kolejnym webinarium prowadzonym wspólnie przez program English Teaching i Instalink. Startujemy jak co tydzień o 18:00 we wtorek, to przedostatnie spotkanie w tym roku. Za tydzień, 15 grudnia, w tego semestralnym cyklu widzimy się po raz ostatni. Dzisiaj z nami jest Mariola Bogucka, która poprowadzi wykład, prezentację, spotkanie na temat pod tytułem Lekcje języka angielskiego prowadzone w oparciu o materiały autentyczne. Spotkanie będzie prowadzone w języku angielskim. Zachęcam do wpisywania się na listę obecności, która już za moment będzie udostępniona. Link do niej będzie również widoczny cały czas w dole ekranu. Życzę miłego słuchania i zapraszam również w trakcie do zadawania pytań. Pod koniec zorganizujemy sobie jeszcze taką, myślę, kilkuminutową sesję pytań i odpowiedzi. Mariola, startujesz.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can see me well and you can hear me well. I'd like once again to invite you over to my place, my home, and it's absolutely essential that you come over here, because all that we're going to talk about is actually here, in this very place. And I'd like to share with you not only the screen, not only materials, but also everything which is behind me, with me, and that's what I'd like to talk about. And our task would be to find out how much English learning there might be there. I call this session using authentic materials, but actually it's all about various treasures that you've got at home and the interpretation of the word treasure in it. Okay, so shall we go over to the presentation, and let me run you through a couple of slides and two very, very short films that I'd like you to watch. Apparently we can't communicate here unless you use a chat, but I can't ask you questions because nobody's going to answer. I can only ask you rhetoric questions, and you might treat my questions as food for thought. And if you've got anything you'd like to ask, then obviously I'd be more than happy to answer them at the end. All right, so now over to our session. The session will last more or less 45 minutes, and then we're going to have a short question and answer presentation. Right. Okay, yes, there it is. Okay, I hope you can see my screen and you can see the slides. I entitled the session, Our Culture is the Treasure Within Us. And what I mean by our culture is all the artifacts, that's what they call them in English, all the props, all the artifacts that you've got around us, and all these artifacts are actually enormous treasure that we can offer to other people, but it's the most important thing, that is the treasure within us. We keep all the treasures within us, and I guess a lot of things around us at home are extremely dear to us. So, where is the treasure? Where is the treasure? Where is the treasure that you've got at home? And obviously, I don't mean jewelry, I don't mean money, I don't mean anything, well, precious in a kind of a material sense. It's not material. It's the treasure which is within us, and the treasure that can easily organize communication between people, because what we refer to is the wealth of our culture. So not material treasures, but the wealth of our culture, which is within us. What is it? It's our heritage. It's where we come from. It's where we belong to. I think I mentioned one or two things when we talked about embracing our place, but this time it's going to be a little bit different. It's the traditions and customs, it's the literature that we've got. It's our, all right, now we're getting more and more personal. It's our memories that we treasure in us, our experiences and life experience, and it's nature around us as well. So this is what we're going to explore today during our session. And again, the question is over to you. Where is the treasure at your place? Where is the treasure that you've got at home? Where is the treasure that your children have got at home? And how can you make sure that children understand this as really something very, very important for them? And maybe they don't know it's a treasure, so you might want to show it to them. The whole presentation, and as always, is based on various theories. I'm going to mention a couple of publications, but definitely this time it's the humanistic approach, which is more and more, well, which was forgotten at some time, and especially now during the times of online teaching, when we're surrounded by technology all the time. It's absolutely essential that we've got again this human aspect brought into light. Carl Rogers is the father of humanistic approach, and we go back really into the 50s, and even so it's not something that has been discovered recently. I suggest that we rediscover it, because we too much based on technology and computers and laptops and good internet connection is so important to us that we might want to have a look once again what this humanistic approach is all about. All right, so what about Carl Rogers? Carl Rogers said that human beings have natural potential for learning, which is not that obvious if you teach kids who are, who come from disadvantaged families, kids who have nobody to help, kids who do not have extra lessons of English so that it's easier for them. I guess we've got to believe that all children can learn. But Carl Rogers says learning can happen only if it involves active participation. For example, experiential learning, So it's learning through experience, experiential learning. So learning will not happen if it's only open your book on page 77. We're going to do exercise 5 from page this or that. It requires active participation. Then learning will happen. Learning happens if it's self-initiated. If kids come up with something and not only the teacher. And learning takes place in an atmosphere of unconditional positive regard. If unconditionally the teacher accepts their students, and if she or he is not irritated by them, if they actually work on, I wouldn't say on like kind of the same level or basis, but all the time at the back of your head you've got, oh, I've got this kid, and this kid can learn, but there are certain conditions that you have to satisfy. If the teacher conveys warmth, empathy towards the learner, and relationship of trust is established. And finally, a truly educational learning experience has impact upon human condition. So if it's truly educational, if they truly are to learn, present perfect, simple past, things like words connected with traveling, the experience should really have impact upon who they are and how they think. At this point, some of you might say, all right, I'm not interested because at the end of April, they're going to have test ośmioklasisty. Sometime in May, they're going to have matura. So basically, what they're interested in is taking the examinations and passing the examinations, and they're not really interested in learning as such. You might think so, but if you are to be an effective teacher, I guess it's absolutely important that you also use some of these, or put into practice some of the principles which Carl Rogers mentioned in his humanistic approach. Okay, how should we build this atmosphere of empathy? I'd like you to have a look at a very, very short film. Only 2 minutes. It's only 2 minutes. And it's a documentary. And honestly, believe me, I would play this documentary to kids in a primary school, kids in a secondary school. I did play it to adults and might have played to some of you on 1 or 2 courses that we had. But it's one of those films that is it's an evergreen. The only thing you change is the question you ask. You say, all right, can you read, can you listen to this story, watch the story, read what's written, because the whole text is actually written down, and can you just discover who the stories are all about? So who are they talking about in the story, and how long did it take, because it's in the past, did it take to help this poor creature? And the main reason why we're doing this, we'd like to establish this feeling of empathy that we all can share when we watch a film like this. So the question is, who is the story about? Or what is it about?
Kitty, 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 kitty. Can't get a pole in there. Can't get. There's just no room. I don't know what to do. I don't know what else to do. I'm sorry. I've tried everything. Come on, baby. I wonder if he knows how lucky he is. How many people banded together and fought for him. I think he does.
All right, I hope you enjoyed watching the film. Do you think your kids could get kind of interesting details of the story. Obviously, you'll ask them about the name of the kitten. First of all, they will have to tell you that it's about a little cat. So you will teach kitten. They will tell you that eventually the cat was named Piper. They could read and listen to the music in the background and actually watch. So everything they watch and everything you're going to talk about is, I would say, 100% meaningful. Another good thing is that it's very, very short. So if you want, you can play it again. And probably they would like it to be played again. How long did it take it to rescue the kitten? 33 hours. All right, who does the kitten belong to now? What's the name of the new owner? What does the kitten look like? Lots and lots of questions. And all these questions will be meaningful. But first of all, what you share is this attitude to the kitten, to animals around us. And this is the attitude of empathy, love, and trust. I don't mean that we can instantly establish the same feeling between teacher and the students or the students themselves, but at least for a moment, you've got a smile. And at least for a moment, you show that you do care. And we can start from this and go on. Obviously, the discussion or debate is going to be different in the 8th grade, where kids can say something more. It's going to be different in lower grades of primary school, and it's going to be totally different with adults and with secondary school kids. But I guess it's worth it. It's worth it. And again, it's authentic material. It's taken off YouTube, and it's authentic, something I promised today. I guess it's absolutely necessary that we use materials like that and then turn them into learner-based teaching. So the teaching is based more on what the kids or what the children bring to class rather than the textbook itself. All right, just to finish off talking about like the theoretical issues, I promise that the rest of the session is only going to be about various activities that you can have with your kids in class. But the theory that I'd like to talk about is so-called learner-based teaching. Scott Thornbury, who wrote, some time ago, his book on dogma, right? This is the book about material light teaching. So, material light teaching in a sense that it's not course book based. Well, I've got, not that I've got, something against course books. You know that I have actually contributed to some of the course books. So I shouldn't really say course books are horrible. No, not at all. But at the end of the day, after going through a unit or a module from a book or a chapter in a book, let's have some tasks which will be material free and will be entirely learner-based teaching. How can you justify that it's so important? First of all, if you base your teaching on learner-based material, on what the learner brings to class, you achieve this interactivity. So interaction between teachers and students or other students will be established rather than the course book itself. So you've got to have just interaction, just connection between teachers and students, the teacher and the student who you have got on the other side of the screen. Engagement. You want students to bring the materials to class. You want them to talk about things they want to talk about and not something which they cannot really relate to, which is in the course book. And I know what I'm talking about. This is not only about like talking about things they bring. This is actually using the language which is there. Students have this kind of dialogic processes, right? So learning is social and is dialogic. Knowledge is co-constructed. So if you talk about present perfect, I'm going to show you some examples in a moment, it's actually constructed together. The best classes, learner-based classes, will be organized after teaching from a course book, after going through some tasks, which are grammar-based tasks, vocabulary-based tasks. And then you say, now we can have a break. But I would like you to use the language that we practiced during the previous lessons. So this is this dialogic process, question and answer, right? Scaffolded conversations. Learning takes place through conversations. The film that we watched, we've got a conversation. What animal is the film about? And they will tell you it's about a kitten. It's also about people who were involved in rescuing the kitten. Where was the kitten found? It was found in a, perhaps the kids will notice it, pipe drain. Or what was the problem with the place that the kitten was found in? It was very, 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 maybe they have noticed, very narrow. Too small for people to get the kitten out of it. So you've got this scaffolded conversation, and definitely the language that you practiced before will be used in the scaffolded conversation. And finally, the very important element is emergence. Well, language will actually emerge from the learning process. It's a bit different from acquisition, because acquisition is when you pick up the language from all around you, whereas here, you've got the language which they studied before, and you just put it into practice. Well, we've got this absolutely wonderful opportunity now with online teaching that we are at home. Once you're back to school into stationary teaching, you will have to ask kids to bring things to school. And you know what happens when you ask kids to bring things to school. Half of them will forget. Some of them will say, I don't have a thing like this at home at all. But here, when they're involved in online teaching, you can ask them to bring all the things before the session. If they have forgotten, they can run to the wardrobe, or they can run to the shelf and can bring whatever you ask them to come up with. I don't know whether during your sessions students have got cameras on. University students actually refuse to switch on the cameras. Girls say that they don't have the makeup on. Some of them don't want to show the rooms, maybe. I must say, I always show my face. They can always see me. Whereas I stopped insisting on students showing their faces. Apparently it's okay because they don't have to do it. But when I ask them to bring something and to show it to us, they do it. We started our online session with actually a presentation of our animals. And all of them presented, no, not all of them, I mean, the ones who had animals. So they actually said, oh, this is my guinea pig, or this is my cat, this is my dog. Some animals did not want to participate. I've got a cat here sitting on the sofa, and I wanted to show it to you, but I'd be scared. Because, I mean, cats don't like being woken up, so please excuse me. But, well, if he's more cooperative, I will actually show my cat. And all my students, at one point or another, they actually saw the cat. So we talked about our animals, and we could see the animals. And even if it takes ages, I think it is important if you do it in English. So what's the name of your cat? What's the name of your guinea pig? What does it eat? Where does it live? And then it turns out that a lot of cats live, actually, well, sleep in our beds, and dogs either behaved or misbehaved. But it was a wonderful moment when you could establish this really nice nice relationship. Most of you teach in smaller places, like in villages in the country, and I bet a lot of kids will be very happy to show the animals that they have. Well, definitely, university students were very happy to do it. That's what we did at the very beginning of the unfortunate online teaching. But depending on the topic that you've got, you might ask them to bring, for example, their favorite book. This is the very session I had this morning. They brought the book, and either on the chat or into the camera, they would actually show the book, right? They would talk about photos they've got at home. And I would like you to have a look just at a few things I have brought with me, all right? Just to show you the camera, into the camera. The grammar point, which I had with the two girls who I teach here in this, because I live in the country now, and they had adjectives. Well, the usual thing, the superlative and how you present different sizes of things, for example. And what you do is, all right, Martinka, have you got a small book? And I could show you a small book as well. It's a small book on cats. What is the book about? It's about cats. Have you got a bigger book? Yes, I've got a bigger book. So this is a small book. This is a bigger book, all right? And this book is about animals. But actually, the biggest book, so this is the biggest book we have at home. The biggest book is actually in German, all right? The biggest book is actually in German. It's beautifully illustrated. And it's a book about the history of Prussia, right? So it's you can have a look at these absolutely beautiful illustrations of various people who lived actually in the northern parts of Prussia. So it's more or less the region that we live here now in Kashubur, right? And the book is really old. It was printed in the year 1905, I think. So it's more than 100 years old. And we had to take to the binder. It had a different cover. It had a different cover, but now I brought it back from the binder, and it's got a new brown hard cover. I can't speak any German, but it used to belong to an uncle of mine who actually happened to be my godfather as well, who used to be a teacher. And he was a teacher of German, and he was a teacher of German in this area. And again, because this is the oldest book I've got, I can actually show you the picture of this uncle. Right? He was also the first teacher in our family, and someone from whom I inherited a lot of books. Some of them in German, some of them in Polish. A lot of books in Polish. The moment Poland in this area regained independence, he, just like this, overnight, switched from being a teacher of German to a teacher of Polish. You've got really fascinating stories. So I've got the oldest book. This is actually the oldest book I have, right? We have at home. It's probably the heaviest book, and probably it's it's definitely a book I haven't read, right? But, well, the book on dogs is actually the newest book, because we bought it for Christmas present for our son, right? So this is the newest book. And the smallest book has been with us for quite a long time now. It's got, little poems about cats, and it's about cats in painting and so on. It's kind of, a nice book. If you haven't got anything else to do, it's a nice book to just browse through and to look at, especially the pictures. When kids bring things like this to class, I think they'd be really eager to talk about them, and it will become more meaningful to them And automatically, you will have lots and lots of questions to ask them. It doesn't have to be books. It could be, for example, clothes. And you say, all right, today we're going to talk about clothes. Have you got with you, perhaps you're dressed in it, have you got, what is the warmest jumper that you have? All right? And you can show them, all right, I've got this jumper. It's made of fleece. It's really nice and thick and it's warm. And it's got an orange collar. And first of all, it's got I'll show it to you. It's got an orange plastic, no, metal. I think it's made of metal. It's got a plastic zip. Can you hear the zip? It's the zip. You don't have to translate into Polish. I know that translation nowadays is back in fashion because of the two tasks in the test ośmioklasisty. I think it has ruined very much of our English teaching, and the tendency is that kids translate everything from English into Polish and Polish into English. But at least for classes like this, you say, all right, Kasia, can you show us your jumper? What is it made of? What color is it? Has it got a zip or has it got buttons? Who's got a jumper with buttons rather than with a zip? What is it made of? I think a word like fleece, polar, right, might be really good to teach because because it's there. And I'm sure that lots of them will talk about things made of wool or things made of cotton, about colors. It becomes meaningful. Use the opportunity that they are at home. They don't have to drag all the things to school, but they can actually touch them, show them to other kids as well. We might go on like this for hours. For example, next time we're going to talk about photographs you have at home. Have you got a very old photograph? Can you bring the oldest photograph you have at home to class and talk about this? One of the oldest photographs I've got is the kind of a photograph in which you've got girls and boys dancing. And you might think there's nothing special about it. The picture was taken, I think, before the Second World War. And now I regret very much that I haven't really, I didn't ask when exactly the picture was taken. And obviously the people in the picture are dead now. And I won't be able to do that. But the really interesting thing about it is that because all men went to war at that time, when you look closely at a photograph, it's actually girls only. Half of the girls were dressed up as men, and the other half were girls, and they pretended that they were, just couples. But it's not true. It's a picture of girls only, of girls dancing, whereas all the men went to the war. Automatically, you've got stories. Stories develop easily if you ask them a few questions. And there will be real stories and very, very important stories. There's one more aspect to it. You will ask your kids to discover all the treasures that you've got at home. And the real treasure is not something that you can buy. The real treasure is when you actually appreciate what you've got at home. It could be kitsch. It could be really, okay, this little kitten, right? It makes a kind of noise. You might say, oh, well, nothing special. It is special. It's special to us. And that's what you'd like kids to discover. Incredible how many treasures they have at home. Okay. Oh, honestly, being at home and online teaching helps you to discover all these things once again. If you could analyze the language there, are the most useful object, the most weird object that you have at home, The most important or an important photograph you have at home. Books, toys. Why not toys? You can have a session on toys. So this is what online teaching enables you to do. All right. Shall we pass on to an activity which I hope will be useful one day when you are back in the classroom? But in the meantime, there is also, all right, let's focus on the activity when we're back in the classroom. I hope that one day we'll go back to school. And before Christmas, this is an activity which I probably do even with my university students. I did it with some teachers some time ago, and the activity involves having a magic box. Can you imagine? Now, there's a lot of imagination in it. You've got a magic box. It's a box, and you show it with your hands. You mime it. It's a box. And then you wrap the box so that you show that it's a present. And then you put the present on your knees and you pass it on to another person. And you can say, oh, I've got a present for you. And the person who gets the present opens it up and takes out the present. You don't tell them what present it is. They have to imagine the present. Some kids will show sweets. Some will show toys. Even some of them will show a book. And then once the present is passed on, this imaginary box is passed on, the teacher writes down the names of the gifts on a flip chart or whiteboard. When everybody has opened the box, you can ask questions about the gifts. So, for example, you could say, who got a cat? Who got a book? How many books have we got as presents? Who got a new umbrella? And I can absolutely assure you that on the basis of the present people get, you can easily tell the age of the group, because the older they are, the more cosmetics there are. So there will be lipstick, and there will be eyelash, and there will be a brooch, and a necklace, and earrings. If it's kind of boy-dominated group, you'll have probably more technical stuff. Smartphones, telephones, but girls as well. Clothes as well. So you can ask really meaningful questions. Younger kids, you can ask to draw the presents, which were given to other kids in class. But the conversation you can have is truly meaningful. There is an online version of it. And again, it all depends whether you've got cameras on. But you could say, all right, can you bring to class next time any present you'd like to show to us? All right. Who gave you the present? Or what present did you get for Christmas, and so on, right? So there might be a discussion or a chat. So all right, can I show you the presents I would like to talk about? But we have to get back to this camera. All right. So this cat, this little cat, that you could say it's a kind of probably the cheapest present I could get. And the parents of the girl who I got it from, they were a bit embarrassed, and they said, oh, but she really wanted to give you the cat. So she brought the cat. It's a 9-year-old girl from France. She brought the cat to us, and it's sitting on our windowsill. And every time we look at it, and every time it waves its arm, we can see Stella and the cat that she brought. Well, I bet there are lots and lots of presents that you would like to talk about. This is the dearest present I've ever had. It's my teddy bear. The teddy bear, I can prove, is almost as old as I am. And I don't want you to count how many years back it goes, but it is a bit, oh, look at it, it's got a hole there. And we had to give it some trousers, and a shirt, because its belly is actually worn. It used to have a little bell there, but obviously the chime, which was there, doesn't ring anymore. But it's oh God, it's the dearest present I ever got. His name is Puchatek, and he would travel with me as a child everywhere we went. And now it's sitting in a very, very kind of, well, in a place close to our bed, in our bedroom. So this is Puchatek. Meet Puchatek. All right. I would like you to kind of not only look at Puchatek, but also look at all the, and also the, well, kind of a poem that you can write about the present you'd like to talk about. All right. I think we can go. Okay. Can you spot Puchatek? Puchatek is there with my parents and with me. I'm in the middle. If you come from the north of Poland, then you know that it's Gdynia. And you know that the monument, you probably know that the monument which is there is actually, it's not there anymore, and was knocked down during the times of this great change. It's the square, Kościuszko Square, and I used to believe that it was Kościuszko up there, but it's not. It's actually Natasha, a Russian soldier. But anyway, all right. So this is Gdynia, my parents and me, and Puchatek. And what you can write about, again, I showed you this book some time ago, Creative Grammar Practice. It's back to Creative Grammar Practice. Too many people write about love. I want to, and then you erase it. It's got, I've had, since, present perfect, mind you, and so on. So kids can imagine how you'd like to finish off the lines. But I'm giving you the skeleton here so that you can come up with the present you want to talk about. Or perhaps the thing that you love. And again, it's not a thing of great material value, but it's of sentimental value. This is more or less the text. I want to write about my teddy bear. It's, oh, sorry, I missed the headline. It's absolutely essential. Too many people write about love. I want to write about my teddy bear. It's brown and soft. I got it from my dad. I've had it for a long time. Now it's old and worn out, but I would never give it away. I love it. These are examples of presents that kids I worked with got. So they wrote about the CDs, they wrote about a Japanese toy, they wrote about Totoro, right? They wrote about a book. They also wrote about the piano, all right, or about, again, another toy. They wrote about a cushion, right, and a vase with flowers. If you want some more ideas, I mean, honestly, the text is brilliant that kids write. And they write about things they want to write about, and they would use the grammar that you teach. The girls I teach recently at school had present perfect. So the question is like, how long have you had it? Can you count? Who did you get it from, right? When did you get it? So present perfect and simple past. Seriously, this will make more sense to them than any exercises you do with the course book. But again, I'm saying that you need some pre-teaching of the structures, and then in the conversation, hopefully they will use some of the structures. The idea for classes like this, if you want some more ideas, this is the Nagroda Nike, I think from 2 years ago, and it's about rzeczy, których nie wyrzuciłem. And Marcin Wicha writes about the things which his mother left after she died, and this is what he hasn't thrown away, because they're so precious to them, to him. It's a beautiful book about things which, again, the material value is dubious. I mean, or no, it's not important. What is important is the story that this particular thing has got, and we all have things like that. All right. Finally, the question is, why do we do it? Why do we do it? We do it because we want our kids to thrive and flourish. We are there as teachers. We're not only interested in the results of a test, but unfortunately nowadays, the over-packed core curriculum and too many things that we want to teach actually destroy education and destroy our teaching, especially during the online teaching. We all the time obsessed with time. Activities that I suggested today require time, require looking back at what you have gone through your kids, through grammar structures, language, and then setting up the close connection between you and your students and making them flourish and thrive. This is what makes life good, right? So these are the ordinary strengths and virtues. These are the things which, when you follow humanistic approach, is the positive internal experience. It's the emotions that you bring out in class. If there are no emotions, there is no learning. It's the positive individual characteristic of each kid that you can bring out. People flourish and thrive when they are taught by institutions that enable people to flourish. I'm afraid the school nowadays is not really what it should be like, for many reasons. And, also because online teaching to some extent has destroyed the social contact, the touch. But one day it's going to be back. One day it's going to be back. And but also, when it comes to online teaching, there might be moments when you can establish that. And you show them that they should have the vision of themselves, that there is a lot in them that you should explore. I'd like you to watch yet another film, right? We're coming to an end, but I would like you to watch a fragment of the film that your kids might have seen, and I hope that you have also seen. And the two characters that we're going to meet is Yoda and Luke Skywalker. And the only thing I'd like you to do is to find out, where is the power? Where does the power come from?
It's too big. Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you? And where you should not. For my ally is the Force. And a powerful ally it is. Life creates it. Makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us. And binds us. Luminous beings so we, not this crude matter. You must feel the force around you. Between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and ship.
You are impossible.
I don't believe it.
It's why you fail.
All right, what are the implications for teaching? Well, the force which is in Yoda is the force that he takes from all around, from the nature, from the trees and the plants and the treasures, also the treasure within him, and he very, very much believes. So the implication for teaching is personalization. Talk about your cat, your guinea pig. Talk about your books that you've got at home. Talk about your jumper. Talk about the oldest photograph at your home. And showing it, just validate everything they've got at home. Seeking and meeting the individual learner's needs. Making sure that they talk about things they want to talk about, because then it's meaningful to them. This is not a very nice word in English, self-actualization. But definitely it rhymes with not indoctrination. So it's not indoctrination, something that other people tell us to do. It's something that kids tell us what we should explore. And a humanistic approach starts with the idea that students are different, and it strives to help students become more like themselves and less like other people. Look, we're talking here about things written 50 years ago, and I think it will be really important to bring them back. Well, the last slide is, well, I guess if you download the slides and if you read them, you can go and you can read about what humanistic activities in ELT bring, because they bring a sense of belonging. They bring whole person learning and teaching. They encourage the knowledge of self. What have I got at home? Who am I? What I want to talk about? What is important for me? So they develop personal identity. They involve feelings and emotions. And there isn't effective teaching without feelings and emotions involved. Minimal criticism, non-existent actually. They encourage creativity. And they also develop a knowledge of the learning process, because you've got, all right, this is the context for the present perfect. I've had my teddy bear all my life. I got it when I was a little child. They are relevant. They're absolutely relevant to me. They encourage self-initiation in the sense that I want to tell you about this. It is important for me. You haven't asked about it, but I want to share it with you. They allow choice, and they encourage also self-evaluation. I could talk about it for much longer, but unfortunately our time is coming to an end. I could show you all these things that I haven't got time to show. And the only thing I can say now is, well, times are difficult, so force be with you. Thank you.
Dziękujemy bardzo. Na czacie nie widzę pytań tutaj, które by się do tej pory pojawiły. Gdybyście Państwo mieli zadać takie pytania, to zapraszamy. Patrzę, że się pojawiają i pierwsze już jest przed Tobą. Którą książkę byś poleciła?
To było, ja nawiązałam do jednego spotkań, które miałam, ale być może nie dla wszystkich. To jest bardzo stara znowu książka. To jest książka Creative Grammar Practice, która była wydana w 1995 roku przez Pearson Education, kiedy jeszcze przez Longman, kiedy Longman nawet nie był Pearson Education. Jeżeli Państwo gdzieś ją znajdziecie, to chyba tylko gdzieś w internecie, albo nie mam pojęcia, na pewno nie jest w sprzedaży. I właśnie to ćwiczenie, które teraz pokazywałam, to też było z tej książki. Sposób prezentacji ćwiczeń jest taki właśnie, jak pokazywałam, że są luki i te luki się wypełnia informacją, która jest ważna dla uczniów. Bardzo proste gramatyczne struktury. Tytuł książki to Creative Grammar Practice, chyba 95 rok, Longman. Z całym sercem polecam.
Dziękujemy bardzo. Myślę, że w tym momencie możemy już spokojnie podziękować uczestnikom i zakończyć nasze dzisiejsze spotkanie. Zapraszamy za tydzień na ostatnie w tym roku spotkanie online z programem English Teaching i Instalink o 18:00 we wtorek. Do zobaczenia.
Dziękuję bardzo. Do zobaczenia. Do widzenia.